All right, this is a quick walkthrough of a VIR Grand course. Going to highlight some things on course, areas to look at, and some features that'll hopefully help you get around the track quicker. So this is a recording of VIR Grand West, Spec Miata, and a couple years ago. So let's take a look at some things. One thing I want to point out, and I'll pause right here. You can see up ahead that dip and then the rise going into turn one. And elevation is a huge factor at VIR. We've pointed that out in several locations. So one thing to keep in mind is the track goes uphill as the elevation increases, it presses the car into the track. You get more grip. As the elevation falls away or flattens out, that grip is going to go away and you're going to have less grip. So think about that because it happens mid-turn in a lot of places here. So you really have to think about what that means for your steering input and how that changes your grip. So let's go. Going into turn one, brake late B, and you can see just off to the left is the turn-in marker, but you can also see my steering wheel is already starting to turn. You're usually going to start a nice gradual turn-in just a little before that turn-in marker, and bring yourself all the way over the inside curving, and we're going to apex right just before the end of that striped or painted part of that curving, and then we're going to start to unwind. We're going to unwind as we go around this turn all the way out. And if you unwind all the way, you can see just ahead of the car there's a little notch in the pavement where two sections of asphalt are joined. And so if you see that little triangle or that little notch in the pavement, you know you're unwinding all the way out there. Now, set up for is NASCAR, and so turn two is kind of a non-event. Even if you're going fast, it's a pretty big turn, but you really want to be set up for NASCAR. And if you look ahead, you can see the tech shed, and the tech shed is just behind the corner worker station. It makes a great aiming point so that you can go through that turn and come out, so you're set up to go into turn three really well. You should be looking at the corner worker station anyway, so it's a great way to get your eyes up and be paying attention. That corner worker station tech shed, and unfortunately there's a lot of glare in this video and you can't see it, but right at your turn-in point on this turn there's a square patch about a foot by a foot patch of asphalt just at your turn-in point on the right side of this asphalt. When you see that, you can go ahead and turn in and then get your eyes up. Now I'm going to track out onto some of the curbing. This is a good time to mention curbing. VIR has a lot of curbing and a lot of it's really useful, but it depends on your car setup. If it doesn't upset your car, then using the curbing can help give you a little extra runoff in this case, as well as an oak tree, or maybe straighten out some of the curves. So use it as it fits your car. I use it a lot. Now we're going to go into four. Now as we're turning in, I'm turning in just as that asphalt on the right-hand side starts to turn in because, well, it's turning in and you kind of have to because it doesn't keep going straight anymore. Roger likes to look at, and if you look at that inside edge of the apex and you can see the hotel or lodging there in the background for VIR, as that hotel edge and that curving start to line up, then you know it's time to turn in if you're looking all the way through. One note with turn four, it's slow and it's tight, and the temptation is to fling it in there and really overcook it. The problem is you can't get on throttle early. And for my car or for any low horsepower car that's going to stay on throttle pretty much from here all the way to 10, you're really killing your exit speed. You're losing speed all the way from here all the way to 10. So go into four under control and worry about getting on throttle earlier more than overcooking your entry. We're going to come out, we don't have to do the whole track left. Then we're going to go to 5B, and it really is almost one big continuous arc. You might make a little bit of adjustment. As we go into 5B, this sets you up for the snake. Really important to attack that curving in 5B. You really want to get well turned in here. And as we see, if you really get on that curving and we look down that track, the snake is now pretty much a straight line. There's not a lot of turning to do. If you don't get that turning done and you don't get that line straightened out, back off. There's a really bad tendency there to start getting behind in your steering and overcorrecting, and then you get into a tank slapper. And if you look, the snake has walls on both sides. You lose control there, it just doesn't turn out well. So get real aggressive on that turn in. Get lined up early. Almost feels like you're turning in early, but it pretty much straightens out the snake and you can stay on throttle. All right, now the uphill S's, I enter on the left side, line up with that curbing. And one thing to note, and let me get a little closer here. As we see, it's not a continuous uphill. The second part of the S's, it kind of peaks, flattens out, and then continues going uphill. So when we think about what that means for grip, watch the steering input here. I'm going to be more aggressive as I enter this uphill section, and then I'm going to back off or straighten it a little until I get to the next section, and then I'm going to crank back on the steering. So think about that in the uphill S's. There's going to be a spot where you don't want to have as much steering input in because you don't have as much grip. Lots of steering input, and as I crest, you'll see the steering wheel back off a little bit, and then I get to that next apex and I crank back on the steering wheel because I'm going uphill again and I've got my grip back. All right, 10. 10's fun because you can't see it, and you want to turn in early because this one again has elevation change, so it drops off after the apex. So you want to get your turn in done and get into that apex because after the apex, the track starts falling away and you have less grip. Turn in, get to the apex, open the wheel, track all the way out. Now the 11, 12 going into Oak Tree. Watch the speedometer here. You shouldn't do 11 and then have to accelerate again for 12. You should go into 11 quick enough that it's just this gradual, continuous deceleration till you get to the apex of Oak Tree and then back on throttle. Accelerate, bring it down, the apex and back on throttle. That's how I was the track out. You have to come up there as well. Use it if you need it. Now we're going to go into middle section, or to Grand West Brand. So this first turn, a full 180, increased radius, and it's off camber. You want to apex very late. Come to the turn, see how far we do this, all the way to the left edge of the track, all the way to the edge, and then we're going to apex almost on the other side of that turn. This turn, the track's going to fall away from us again. So keep that in mind. Get your braking done. It's really compressed. You can brake very late here, but then get that turn in because as you crest this hill, your grip's going to go away. You're not going to be able to turn in. I see a lot of people miss this and then they go sliding sideways down the hill. Now bring it back. Right, left. This next section, next turn, I like to line up sort of track left, but I'm angled to the right, and we'll see as you crest the hill why that matters. The problem is here, you can't see it, so you just kind of have to know. Line up sort of left, but with a diagonal and pointing to the right, and we'll see what this looks like as we crest. Now you can see as I'm coming over the hill, my steering wheel has just a little bit of pointing off to the right. And as I crest, I'm basically going to go one turn, two turns in almost a straight line. And now get your vision up, it's a slalom. Curving. Lots of grip going up the hill. All right, again, another turn going uphill and that flattens out. So as we go uphill, our turn is right about on that walkway we see to the right. And get into that curving and then start to straighten that wheel. coaster is really fun because it drops down, you pick up a lot of acceleration, even if you're in a Miata. But because it drops down, again, that grip starts to go away. So you want to get into that curbing, and you don't want to get too far off to the left of that track, because as this track progresses, it starts falling away more and more, and you get less and less grip, and it gets much harder to make this turn. Get into that curve. All right, we're going to enter as the curbing on the right ends, and we're going to go take as much of that curbing on the left as we can. Now you're going to notice I don't really brake here. I save it for as I go into that curbing on the left, and there's a little straight we kind of make out of it. So get off of that curbing on the left, and just as we get over it, we have a nice straight line to the next set of curves. Now here's where I can, and you watch the speedometer, I'll back off here. A little brush of the brakes, keep the steering wheel straight, and then we get into hog pen. If you get really wide, the track moves up, you get more grip, you want to hog, and you come tearing out of hog pen. And that's a lap of the VIR Grand Lap. So hopefully that helps you. Have fun, stay safe.